Wan sat on a bench in a park, her heart heavy as she watched Taehyung and his girlfriend Haejin walk hand in hand. Seeing him with someone else was like a dagger through her heart. As they approached her, Taehyung's eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of something familiar in them. But then he turned his attention back to Haejin, smiling and laughing with her as they sat down next to Ryan. We are done walking around. How about some ice cream? Taehyung asked, his voice warm and friendly. Ryan forced a smile, trying to push down the ache in her chest. You guys go, I'm okay here, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Haejin wrapped her arm around Taehyung's arm, leaning into him with a smile. Oh, come on, Ryan, don't be so boring. Let's have some ice cream. Maybe I'll get to know you better, right, Taehyung? Haejin said cheerfully, her eyes never leaving Taehyung's face. Ryan felt a pang of jealousy shoot through her as she watched the way they interact. Fine then, Ryan replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Taehyung glanced at her again. His eyes searching her face for something she couldn't quite place as she stood up and started walking ahead of them. Are you sure you're okay, Ryan? You seem a little off, Taehyung said, concern lacing his words. As he caught up to her, leaving Haejin behind, Ryan shook her head quickly, plastering on a fake smile. I'm fine, really. Just a little tired, she lied. Taehyung nodded, but his gaze lingered on her for a moment longer before returning to Haejin. The three of them chatted for a while, but Ryan couldn't shake the feeling of being the third wheel. They walked into the ice cream shop. The sweet scent of freshly made waffle cones filled the air, and the colorful array of ice cream flavors lined the display case, tempting them with their deliciousness. Taehyung's eyes lit up as he scanned the flavors, a mischievous grin on his face. I already know what I want, he declared, his gaze flickering to Ryan with a playful glint in his eyes. Ryan chuckled softly, knowing exactly what Taehyung's favorite flavor was. Let me guess, mint chocolate chip? She teased, a smile tugging at her lips. Taehyung's grin widened, nodding enthusiastically. You know me too well, Ryan, he said with a wink. Before Ryan could say anything more, Hajan piped up excitedly. Oh, I love mint chocolate chip too. That's my favorite flavor, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with delight. Ryan's smile faltered slightly. She glanced at Taehyung, who looked torn between amusement and happiness. Well, we have the same taste, Taehyung said with a chuckle, trying to diffuse the tension. Ryan forced a smile, but her disappointment lingered in the air. As they approached the counter to place their orders, the server informed them that there was only one scoop of mint chocolate chip left. Taehyung and Heejin exchanged a glance. I guess we'll have to share then, Heijin suggested, a bright smile on her face. Taehyung nodded in agreement, looking at Ryan to see her reaction. Ryan looked away, feeling a pang of jealousy at the thought of them sharing, but she pushed those feelings aside and forced a smile. They settled down at a table outside, the warm breeze ruffling their hair as they dug into the creamy mint chocolate chip ice cream. Taehyung and Haejin chatted animatedly, their laughter filling the air as they enjoyed their sweet treat. Wine watched them interact with a bittersweet smile, feeling like an outsider in their own little bubble of happiness. But she pushed those thoughts away and focused on savoring the delicious ice cream. And excused herself for a while, citing an early morning the next day as her reason for leaving. As she walked away, she could feel Taehyung's eyes on her back and she couldn't help but wonder what he was thinking. Did he still care about her even though he was with Haejin now? The next day, Taehyung showed up at Ryan's doorstep unexpectedly. She opened the door to find him standing there, a nervous look on his face. Hey Taehyung, what are you doing here? Ryan asked, surprised to see him. Taehyung shuffled his feet awkwardly before speaking. I wanted to talk to you about something, he said quietly. Ryan's heart skipped a beat at his words. Wondering what could be so important that he had to come see her in person. Come in, she said, stepping aside to let him in. They sat down in the living room and Taehyung took a deep breath before speaking. Today I am going to propose the love of my life and I want you to be present there, Ryan. Taehyung started, his eyes locked on hers. Ryan felt her heart stop at his words, sure of where this conversation was headed. You will come right, Taehyung continued, his voice filled with emotion. Ryan felt tears prick at her eyes as she listened to him speak. Why do you even want me there? It's your moment, Ryan asked. Unable to keep the bitterness out of her voice, Taehyung sighed, running a hand through his hair. You are my best friend, Ryan. Can't you do this much for me? Please, Taehyung confessed. His eyes pleading with hers, Ryan's heart soared at his words. She sighed. Fine, she said softly, looking away. Taehyung reached out, holding her hands. Thank you so much, Ryan. You're the best. Taehyung said enthusiastically. Ryan felt her heart swell as she looked into his eyes. Ryan reached the place Taehyung had told her to be at. She was met with two bodyguards that led her way. She stepped into a softly lit room filled with twinkling fairy lights and candles. She gasped in surprise as her eyes landed on the walls adorned with photographs of her and Taehyung from the childhood to present day. Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes as she took in the sight before her. Memories flooded back to her. Of laughter and tears shared with Taehyung, of moments that had shaped their friendship over the years. Suddenly, the room lit up and she heard Taehyung's voice from behind. Light my surprise, she turned to see him standing there with a rose in his hand and a smile on his face. What is happening? She asked, still shocked and confused. Taehyung took a deep breath before speaking. Ryan, all these years you have been my rock, my confidant, my best friend. I still remember how we used to be partners in crime. Even after all these years of staying away, the only girl I have loved is you, Ryan. Ryan's eyes widened at that and Taehyung chuckled. You thought I forgot my promise? They smiled. Heijin is just my friend. We wanted to confirm your feelings for me. When I saw your expression, your excuses yesterday, I just knew that you still feel the same for me. Ryan was beyond shocked and surprised by that revelation. They took a deep breath and gave the rose to her before kneeling down on his knee, taking out a box of ring. So, with all the love and admiration I have for you, I'd like to ask you, Ryan, will you marry me? Hwan's heart soared as tears streamed down her cheeks. She looked into Taehyung's eyes, eyes that held nothing but love and adoration for her, and nodded fervently. Yes, yes, I will, Hwan exclaimed, her voice filled with joy and love. He stood up smiling, his own eyes glistening with tears. Without another word, he stood up, sliding the ring on her finger. They heard Hajan shout. She said yes from outside, and the family members, friends, colleagues made their way inside with joy filling the surroundings. The young leaned in and pressed his lips to hers in a gentle kiss. It was like coming home after years of wandering, and Ryan melted into it, wrapping her arms around him tightly. In that moment, everything else faded away, and all that mattered was the love they shared. As they pulled apart, both of them knew that they were meant to be together, no matter what obstacles stood in their way. And she pulled away and hit his chest playfully. How dare you play with my heart like that? Taehyung chuckled, placing his forehead on hers. I'll make up to you. Promise. You better. She glared up at him. He smiled, kissing her forehead.